Hello there, welcome to the show. It's just gone 7 p.m. here in the UK, and of course for our North American, because I think Canada go early too, or the 51st state, as it might be known fairly soon. Anyway, no more politics. Welcome. You guys are an hour closer to us for the next 2 or 3 weeks because we don't go and put our clocks forward until the 30th. I should have put something out there, but hopefully YouTube will have informed you of the correct time and you're here on time, unless your name is Dina Perlman, who turned up an hour early, bless her. But hopefully Dean's in the chat. Hello to you and hello to everyone that is watching. I hope you're well. It's been a couple of weeks since I saw you because I was off last week. Massive thank you to Jason Jervis for stepping in, and the show seemed to go reasonably well, so I hope that was all okay. But thank you again, Jason. Your assistance is much appreciated, and I'm sure we will call on your services again soon. So it's been a busy week, but we've got some very special guests who I will introduce to you fairly soon. But in the meantime, let me just remind you that if you could give us a like and a comment if you want to, whether it's during the show or after the show, and do give us a subscribe and share us around. Tell people about us, spread the word that we are out there, and it's a fun way to bring the weekend in if you're a music technology nerd. We are completely fan funded. Yes, we do have fans. You can support us in a number of ways. Patreon is one place that you can go, patreon.com/ProSynth Network, and if you go there, then you will be able to avail yourself of lots of freebies. I'm just trying to find the page. Here it is. You can avail yourself of lots of freebies, such as patches for your hardware and software synthesizers. Here we go. Let's put the page up there. I've given our guests away already. There we go. So there's videos. There's the wonderful Matt Evans with his Synthspirations, and all of those videos are up there for you to watch in isolation at your leisure. Loads of stuff there, and of course if you scroll all the way down, you'll find lots of other things, such as those free patches for wonderful Cherry Audio synthesizers donated to us by James Dyson. There's also patches for hardware synthesizers from people like Mark Barnes as well. Loads of great stuff. So it's a really, really great way of supporting us. You get something in return, as well as the show, and we get your support and that warm, fuzzy feeling that we are loved by you guys. So that's the Patreon page. It's a minimum $2 a month. You can subscribe for as long as you like or for as short as you like. You can subscribe and then unsubscribe and then subscribe again. Entirely up to you what you want to do, but every penny does help keep the channel on the air, so it's all your fault. The other way that you can support us, of course, is through our merchandise page, and we have a wide range of merchandise, in case you weren't aware, and we have recently added to that range of merchandise, and we've already sold a whole bunch of these already, so I'm going to be adding more things because it seems you guys like new stuff. For example, let's just put this up on here. So we've got a brand new Justin Have You vest top with Justin, or a virtual Justin, with one of his favorite catchphrases on there. So thanks for that. So if you are a big fan of Justin Have You, who's one of our longtime viewers and supporters, and an absolute actual musical genius, because he's multi-instrumental, and he's just too darn good, and we love him, but yeah, he's just so annoyingly good. We've also got some other synth t-shirts. I'm going to be doing some more of these. This is one of my favorites. My other synth is a DX1. We've also got my other synth is a DX7 somewhere in there as well. There it is. There's the black one there. And I should be doing some more synth. So if you want your favorite synth to feature on a ProSynth Network t-shirt, then let me know. You just email us at prosynthnetwork@gmail.com, or find me online and hassle me there. But I'd love to make those things happen for you, because then we can sell them to you and we get a little slice off the top. If you like throw cushions on your sofas or beds, we've got ProSynth Network throw cushions now. If you are an iPhone user with the MagSafe connection, we've now got ProSynth Network iPhone cases with the MagSafe connection. We've got tote bags, because every merch store that's worth its salt has a tote bag. So there we go. We've got our tote bag in there as well. And we've got this wonderful new bomber jacket, which looks really smart, but unfortunately they don't seem to do it in my size. So I can't purchase one of those. But yeah, loads of stuff in there. So you can pick up your drinkware, your t-shirts, your hats, your mobile phone cases, whatever. And we have a little slice of the sale as well, so that helps keep the channel going. So do go and check us out there if you want some. And for every sale that you make, you will get a personal message from me. I don't know whether that's something to encourage you or dissuade you, but I do try and thank everyone individually for their purchases, so because it means a lot to us. You can also find us across all of the social or the major decent social media channels, so Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitch, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. We're all there at ProSynth Network. During the show, if you want to ask a question of us or our guests, all you got to do is just hit the big capital Q before your question, so it just helps us with poor eyesight pick it out and put it to one side to ask our guests or even any of us a little bit later on. We haven't got a Synthspirations this week. I'll play the promo a little bit later on, but don't forget, if you want to tell us about the songs, the artists that inspired you to make music with synthesizers, let us know. Make a video, send it in to us, we'll show it on the show, and we'll give you some more details for that a little bit later on in the show. Right, I think that's pretty much all of the housekeeping done. So I need to go and bring in everybody else, because if I sat here for 2 hours rabbiting on, you'd all be long asleep. Let's first of all bring in Mr. Andrew Longhurst. Welcome, sir. How are you? Muted. That's what he is. He's just very muted.
I'm good.
There you go.
I'm good.
Wearing your Cherry Audio shirt.
And
your ProSynth Network jacket.
Hoodie. Yeah. There we go. There we go, you see.
Looks
now
good.
Looking cool and down with the kids.
Obi-Wan Longhurst.
Yes, Obi-Wan Longhurst.
Indeed. Good stuff. How have you been?
I've been, it's been a mad week. Busy week. Lots of clients, stuff, doing things. Lots of music this week, which has been kind of cool.
Good.
And lots of audio problems. I think Kent and I share a dislike for USB audio at the moment. It's causing us all sorts of issues.
Indeed.
But we're here.
Indeed.
And it's great, and we've got lovely people tonight.
We've got great guests, yes, as we always do. Thank you. And talking of Kent, let's bring him in. There he is.
Guten Tag.
You got audio. That's good. That's a good start.
This bit works.
Yeah, don't touch anything. Yeah, just that's all that needs to happen.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, it's been quite a rush today.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, you were busy. You were going through a Prophet 5, a CS20M.
Yeah.
Was there anything else? Did I miss anything?
No, that was more than enough. Thank you.
Yeah. Both still giving you headaches.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to build a whole new power supply and transformer for that CS20.
Oh. Well, that's not a bad thing, I suppose. It's those.
Well, I'll get it going anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, get it done.
Then find all the other faults.
Yeah. The Prophet 5 is
suitably frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't get a level shift on it anywhere.
Oh dear. Not good. But anyway, it's Friday. You can now just put your feet up and relax.
Till tomorrow.
Anyway, yeah. Good to see you, mate, as always.
Yeah,
Thank you very much indeed. And of course, as you well know, whenever there's a new Cherry Audio product, we are always eternally thankful and grateful that the guys come on the show to tell us and you all about it. Before we bring those in, can I just say thank you to all of our moderators in the chat. So thank you for looking after that area, and hello to everyone. I can't mention you all by name, but be sure that we recognize you. We see you, as the kids say. You have been seen. Anyway, let's bring in our guests. You know them as the brains, the geniuses behind a lot of brilliant, affordable plugins. We know them just as Dan and Mitchell. Welcome, gentlemen, to you both. How are you?
Yay! Hey, what's up?
Hey, let's go to the boss first, because we've got to keep him happy. How you doing?
Whenever we come on the show, it's always release week for us. It's always when a new product comes out. And
and we're super grateful that you find the time.
Friday at the end of a long, busy week, but yeah, we look forward to it. We're
Yeah,
happy.
well, the feeling is mutual. The feeling is very mutual indeed. You were saying before we came on air that it's a little bit chilly where you are at the moment, which is unseasonable kind of weather for you guys.
Yeah, the west coast of the United States is getting rain and chilly temperatures, and it's
It's not good.
Yeah, it's unusual for March.
Yeah. Well, we'll come back to you in a moment, Dan, but let's come over to your colleague and another one of our great friends, Mr. Mitchell Sigman. How are you?
I am well. I am
It's
really
looking
well.
very sunny where you are.
Yeah, actually, well, I have a lot of windows in here, but yeah, it's actually really nice here after it being snowy and yucky. I'm in Connecticut, for those who don't know.
Yeah, you
and
moved,
it's really nice here. It's like 55 and
Yay.
it's beautiful, and yeah, so it's nice.
Good, excellent. Great to see. How are you settling into the new home, by the way? Because, well, it's not that new.
It's been a year.
Yeah,
we're out of
wow.
here. They're remodeling our bathroom forever upstairs, which I really can't complain about because it's going to be super cool when it's done.
Yeah.
But it's been like 6 weeks of just smashing and banging starting at 8 a.m. every day.
Wow.
So, but, again, I can't complain.
No.
Cool.
You'll appreciate it when it's all done. And we've also got to mention you have a little friend with you today who is hopefully just going to relax.
Yeah, she's laying down over there, so I don't want to disturb her.
Yeah, leave
I don't
her,
want to
leave her.
rise. Yeah,
She is
rise up
gorgeous, by the way. She is gorgeous. But maybe she'll make an appearance later on. We love dogs in this show. Anyway, there we go. We've got a full house for you all today. So if you have questions for Dan and Mitchell, as we saw, our resident question master Nick Howes has already got a couple of those in there. We'll bring those in later. But if you have questions for the guys, then do stick them in the chat. Put a big capital Q in the front of them so I can see them and move them over into our little chat window, and we can then address those a little bit later. I've just seen Ben, our moderator, in there. Ben will be posting links to anything that we talk about. We've been mostly Cherry Audio today. Please do get yourself involved in the show. Participate. It's what we're famous for. So before we talk to the guys, I guess we need to, if anybody's been living under a rock, introduce everyone to what is new from Cherry Audio. There it is. Yeah, absolutely. When you listen to that trailer, I know that's original music, but when you hear those drum sounds, you forget how much it was used back in the day, because those sounds are so iconic. And I'd kind of forgotten how iconic they were until I started playing with this. I'm going, of course, it's that and this and that. It's just an incredible thing. This is, of course, the KR-55C, because there was an A and there was a B. And what Cherry Audio have done very cleverly here is combine both of those machines and so much more into the KR-55C, which is this wonderful recreation of Korg's analog drum machines from the very late back end of the 70s into the early 80s, used by so many bands and so many artists, and we could list them, and you need to go to the website to find out that people like Depeche Mode and Joe Jackson and so many others were using this back in the day. And the sounds on this, it just sounds incredibly good. So we'll start off with Dan. We'll start at the top. Why the KR-55? What prompted Cherry Audio to tackle this one?
Well, it's a really interesting piece of history as drum machines go. We last did the CR-78, which is a bit of a primitive early drum machine. And to us, the KR-55 kind of represents the peak of analog drum machine technology. The sounds, the synthesis that goes into creating these sounds is much more advanced than on things like the CR-78. And after the KR-55, everything kind of went digital and sample-based. So everything about the KR-55 is kind of where analog drum machines peaked. They're the most realistic, the fullest, the most complex and interesting sounds. And honestly, the KR-55, I think, would be a legendary drum machine if it was programmable.
Yes.
But it's not. It has loads and loads of preset patterns and intros and fills, but it wasn't programmable. And so when Mitchell brought this to us and said, hey, let's do this, we thought, well, you know, if we unlock the power of this drum machine and turned it into a fully programmable instrument, it would be pretty cool. And it turns out it is.
Yeah, because it's funny, isn't it? Because as you said, the original 55A was superseded in the early 80s by the 55B, and you would have thought by then they've gone, yeah, let's put some programmability in it because everyone else seems to be doing it. You know, the Lin drum came out a year or two beforehand, and they didn't. All they did was just increase the amount of presets. That was it. So, I mean, what were the, apart from the number of presets, what were the key differences between the A and the B?
The B has twice as much of everything. So twice as many patterns, twice as many intros, twice as many fills. And I think, other than maybe one or two exceptions, I think every single pattern is unique in the 55B. So even the simple things like Rock 1 and Rock 2, when the 55B came out, they went in and they jazzed them up and they made them more interesting.
Yeah, it's just really odd that they didn't cotton on. And like you say, had they made it programmable, it could have been an absolute beast of a drum machine. But as you say, it was that pivotal time where you know, Roger Lin was just about to come out with the LM1. And then that was it. It was all, everybody wanted samples, and the analog stuff started to drift away. You know, Roland brought out the 909 and then the 707s and everything else. It was all sample based, and nobody wanted analog drums anymore. So it's definitely a product of its time, very much so. Mitchell,
yeah,
what's your story? Did you have a story? Have you had a story with the KR-55 in the past? Was there a reason why you? No,
I mean, only that nobody had really done it. And, you know, there's a lot of drum machines out there that have been cloned in software. And, I mean, there might have been, I'm sure there are sample collections of it.
Sure.
A bunch of them. But, you know, that's not how we roll. So it looked cool, honestly.
Yes, it does.
It was really neat. And my memory of it is I had that Joe Jackson Night and Day record when I was a kid with Stepping Out. And there's that picture of them in the inside sleeve with all their gear. So, of course, as a kid, you're like, oh, wow, what's all that? And it always was in my brain. Like, you can see that 55A sitting there. And then I later learned that that's the drum machine from Stepping Out. Disco 7, I think it is. And so that was always kind of interesting. I just always had in my mind, well, no one's done this. And, of course, like what Dan was saying, you know, if this was just programmable, it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And so that was really the inspiration, was just something that hadn't been done. And we thought it would be fun. And then I had the not very good idea. Yeah, no, really good, but not good idea to combine both of them, which was very challenging in terms of just doing the UI for myself and Mal, because they're actually, it's not just different colors. They are a bit different. Graphically speaking, and just making it all look correct. And then, of course, as Dan mentioned, there are so many patterns because there are intros and fills, and when you add it all up, it's over 200 patterns, fills, and intros between them. And it fell to me to reverse engineer all of them, and there is no quick and easy way to do that.
No.
So that was a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, between you and Mal, you've done a great job again visually with this thing. I'm just going to bring this up. Let me see if I can do this. I'll do that, and I press here, and then share the screen and my window, and there is the KR-55 in all of its glory. There it is. Lovely looking thing. So let's take a look through it. We'll start off with the preset. So if you hit the preset button in the top right hand corner, you basically have what was the KR-55. Obviously not with all of these edit buttons on the top. This is all extra. And you have three edit modes. So the instrument edit mode, you have the mix, so it's effects routing matrices or matrices, and the mixer, and then you have the effects section. You've thrown in a great amount of effects. So there's an overdrive in there, there's a flanger stroke chorus, there's an echo, and there's a reverb that contains three different reverbs, including a very own galactic reverb, which is a fantastic reverb. And then you can, of course, put it into user mode, where things start to get really cool, because you then have the programmer here, which allows you to program patterns and then link those patterns together and put songs. This is very CR78-ish instrument selection knob there. This is, I think, is a really cool thing that you have put in here, which is the drag export. So correct me if I'm wrong, if you're running the standalone version, if you've got a pattern, say, in the green zone, you can drag that and out of here, and that saves it as a standard MIDI file. But if you're in a DAW, you can then drag this onto your timeline in the DAW, and it will just place it as MIDI, and you can then just play it back from the DAW. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. You can drag what that does in song mode is it drags the entire song.
Gotcha.
In pattern mode, it drags the current pattern. And yeah, it'll work in both standalone and plugin mode. You can drag it right into your DAW to assemble.
Yeah. I know there's been some drum machine software plugins released recently, no names mentioned, but they haven't included a sequencer or a programmer, in as much as you can't program the patterns in the plugin itself. You just load it up and then program it into your DAW, which I kind of get it. But this is nice because I like to I'm properly in the drum machine world in the last few months, because we've had some great hardware drum machines come out. We've got some great software drum machines come out, and I'm really just getting really back into them. The fact that I can just fire this up as a standalone really quickly, boom, it's there. I can mess around, do the patterns, zip it out as a standard MIDI file, and then save that for later, and then import that into anything I want to and play around with it even more. It's very, very cool. Other things you've got on here, you've got the swing mode. You've got the different color schemes for the 55A and the 55B. Does that do anything else other than change the skin?
Well,
Absolutely.
It activates all the preset patterns of the 55B.
Of course, yes.
And it activates the pattern group 1 and 2 switch, which is part of the 55B.
I gotcha. Yeah, there you go. So it's all there. Brilliant. Intros and fills all activated there by the button. Of course, all of this stuff is MIDI assignable. Then you get your tempo and your volume, and I mean, it's just it's a wonderfully detailed, incredibly powerful recreation that just opens that rhythm unit up to allow you to do pretty much anything you want with it, which you obviously couldn't do with the original, not even with the Rhythm 50 or the KR-55 Pro, which I think came out about 5 or 6 years ago. That again was not programmable. I mean, Korg, hello, read the room. It's bonkers. So let's see. Let's talk about. Well, Dan, tell. Did you have any particular? Because every time we speak to you, we talk about the quirks of the hardware and how difficult or easy it was to model this. Any stories of getting this into code from the original?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll tell you, one of the coolest and most unique things about the KR-55 is that swing knob. Most drum machines that have a swing knob, the swing is pretty simple. You swing every other 16th note. You just sort of delay it. But the swing on the KR-55 is really complex. And it works differently when you have a 4/4 pattern or when you have a 3/4 pattern. Mm-hmm. So if you load some of the 3/4 presets, the waltzes and things like that, the swing has a different behavior on the timing than it does on the rock and similar 4/4 patterns. And also, when you turn that knob all the way to the right, that swing is really intense. And it took quite a bit of reverse engineering to figure out exactly what was going on in the swing. And then, as I said, the synthesis of the drums, the way the drum sounds are created, it's just really complex. And there's a lot of them, and they're really good. So there was a lot of work that went into matching, doing all that circuit matching and figuring it out. And then, of course, unlike the original hardware, our sounds can be edited in a number of different ways, all of which are things that could be done to the original circuitry. So detuning, changing the decay times. And then Mitchell had this fantastic idea for this drum machine where every single channel, every drum sound has its own parametric EQ.
Mm-hmm.
And it lets you fatten up the kicks or turn the snare drums into claps, and it's so flexible and interesting. So yeah, all of it sort of led us in this direction where we tend to go with these drum machines, where it starts off as a very, faithful replica of what the KR-55 and KR-55B were and what they could do, but then you can take it in crazy directions with the editing and the effects and just turn it into something wildly different, and that's always fun.
What was your source? Did you have one or more of these that you could dig into?
Yeah, Mitchell, I don't know if he's got them readily available, but we sourced both an A and a B model, and sent them to Mitchell, and he locked himself in his Connecticut house for a long time, recreating all those patterns. Mitchell said over 200. There's actually 240.
Wow.
Intros, fills, patterns.
It sucked.
The fill button. So one of the fun and quirky things about a KR-55 is if you look at the interface and you look at the intro and fill button, there are two LEDs. One of them says intro and one of them says fill in. And if you hit start and if you just start playing a pattern, you'll see that right now it says fill in, but then for a moment it says intro. And the reason why it does that is when you hit the button, you'll either get the intro or a bit of you'll either get the fill or a little bit of the intro.
Okay.
It's just one of the clever behaviors about this is if you hit that button at just the right time, instead of playing a fill, it plays the intro sound, which gives you even more variety. And again, just figuring out how all of that worked and what the behavior was and what the timing was.
Yeah, can we talk about the how the fills work, Dan?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is a really bizarro feature. You'd think like it just has a fill and the fill is a certain length, and whenever you whack the button, the fill button, while it's playing a preset beat, it would just play the fill. But that's not how it works. We came to realize that the way it works is it plays depending on where you are in a pattern. The pattern's really 2-bar, but it only does this over a 1-bar amount of time. Depending where you are in the fill, it'll start playing the fill later in the fill, like if you're on beat 2, or it actually goes in 8th note increments. So if you're on like the 2 and, it'll play the fill starting, like it'll skip the first 2 and of the fill and play from there to the end of the fill and then start the beat back again. So depending on where it is in time in the beat, when you press the fill button, it sort of plays the rest of it from wherever you are of that bar, which was really hard to reverse engineer and figure out, and probably hard for Dan to program too. I blew my brains out figuring that out, and then it was equally hard again to try to explain that in the manual. So I hope somebody reads that and sees all the cool pictures and diagrams I made in there, because they took ages to make to try to get that across. And on top of that, Dan, it has that thing where Dan was explaining where if you hit it at a certain time, it plays if you play it, basically it's from after the 4 of the second bar of it playing the pattern. That's when that little light comes on for the intro, and it plays part of the intro pattern.
Gotcha.
So
that
crazy.
is clever.
Yeah.
That is clever. I've got to ask you, I mean, you locked yourself away with these two machines and you transcribed everything and then, got it in. There she is. Look. That's Betty?
Yes, that is Betty. 4 years old. Yeah.
Oh, look at her. Daddy. So you locked your way. Are you sick of this now? Are you sick of that drum machine and its sound?
It's been a little bit of time that has gone by since I did it, but yeah, when I was in the thick of it, it's really crazy because basically the way I reverse engineered all the patterns was a sort of combination. I had an app that would figure out kind of like one of those apps that audio things that takes things apart and turns it into MIDI, but it only worked for the kick and snare and hat. Anything else confused it. So it helped a little bit to get MIDI out of it, but then it was that, and in the owner's manual, they actually have little staffs and they show the music for it, which I could sort of read because I can sort of read music. Yeah. And then a lot of it was just doing it by ear. And fortunately, the real ones have those mixer knobs. So I was constantly turning down the mixer knobs up and down, and the knobs for the mixer, if anyone's used a real one, they don't turn super easy, and they're kind of sharp on the edge. So literally I had welts in my thumb and my finger from constantly having to turn these things up and down. I mean, it was comical.
Dear.
And there was just so many of them, and I had to sort of figure out a system in Logic to do it all and get them in there and have it make sense, and then get it over to Dan. And I mean, it's just one of those things that if you use a product, you never think about stuff like this. You think, oh, they just threw those patterns in there, whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't think that there's some poor bastard who has to sit there and figure all this stuff out. So yeah, it took like maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks to get all those patterns figured out. So yeah.
That's got to be crazy.
So I hope someone uses them. I hope people use
absolutely.
the presets.
Somebody in the business once told me, never make your hobby your job because you'll become sick of it, and I kind of get the impression that's how it would probably feel, just incessantly transcribing and programming this stuff.
It was very satisfying though to actually be able to say we have all of them and they're perfect,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a feat, and we are happy because the other thing is that, I mean, you not only got all of the presets in there that were in the original machines, but you've also got a wealth of new stuff that your incredible sound design team, including the likes of James Terrace, James Dyson, and others, have put together some great recreations of tracks that used it and tracks that didn't use it, but is the same era sort of thing. So for example, there's a pattern in there that is very similar to Don't You Want Me, which of course was an LM1, but it sounds great to do it on one of these as well, which is really cool. Let's give you two guys a break at the moment. I'm going to go to Andrew first. So Andrew is by far and away the oldest of us all, so I want to I want to know, using this in the studio, did you come across this, tales from your time working with these things?
The answer is yes to all of those, including being the oldest.
The oldest one here, yeah.
The oldest one on the planet, probably. Yeah, I remember when these came out. It was very near the beginning of my career, and it was also about the time that the SDS5 came out, and there was, of course, the CR78 out, and people would bring these in from time to time, and I was always deeply impressed with the sound. And I remember several that were bought in had been modded on the side, so there was a switch. It was either a momentary or a continuous switch, a flick switch, which meant when you flicked it up, the intro or the fill would continue playing until you turned it off again. So you could get that repetitive sort of intro thing. And then some of them also came with, I think it was a serial port, or was it a parallel port? No, I think it was a serial port, 37-pin, that would allow you to sync it and other things to it in any kind of syncable environment, which was, again, sort of early days then, but it worked. And I remember particularly one session where someone came in and saw it. I think a producer came in and saw it sitting there ready to do a track, to lay something down. And he said, "Well, you don't want a toy like that. Well, you've got the Simmons, and we didn't have a drummer." It's kind of, well, no. And he said, well, you've got a proper instrument there, and he pointed at the CR78. And it was a really odd thing, because I loved the CR78, really do, but this just went that bit deeper and gave you so many more bits of control. And particularly, I'm really glad you mentioned the swing. The swing was insanely good on it, and I remember spending an age with the MPC 60 when it came out, trying to duplicate the way it swung stuff. And it was very different between a 4/4 and a 3/4, and just the sounds. You were right. This was the pinnacle of that era. I remember also when trying to sample it at one point for, I think it was with the S900, we just simply let it run and we sample 2 bars or 4 bars actually of the kick and then the snare, doing each of them just 4 bars and then muting the and doing that all the way along, and then afterwards going back, because we knew it would be in time, cutting it up, putting it in so that we could have those loops, we could reconstruct those loops. But it took so long. It took so long to do each pattern doing it that way.
Yeah.
But it did give you full control. But they sounded amazing. And I'm really glad you've done this. It sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go over to Kent, who is the second oldest person in the room. Do many of these cross your work table?
Can I just take this opportunity?
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Thank and congratulate Cherry Audio in making this plugin, because when people come to the door with these, I can say, buy the plugin. Take this thing away now. They are a fantastic drum machine. I did have one. I think I had a B. I think it was a B. No, it might have been a C. Never mind. It was a long time ago. Anyway, I bought it for about 40 quid, and it was great. I loved it, and it was so much more than my 78. But now, when they fall over now, holy hell, no, just yeah. I'm so glad this is here.
You want to talk about the vertically mounted components inside?
Do we have to?
Yeah, because I poked around in there,
Yeah.
getting sounds. So what we're talking about is old Japanese stuff sometimes has this weird thing of, instead of, like, when you see a PCB with a bunch of resistors and parts on it, usually they're horizontally oriented with the legs come out on either side. But in these drum machines, they're all stood up on end. So one pin, one side of the lead goes into the board, into the circuit board, and the other side loops around and goes back down. And they have this like coating paint insulation on it. So I imagine when you're trying to, and they're super tightly packed. So it's really hard to get leads and test stuff in there. And I'm sure for Ken it was even worse because he was trying to fix them. For me, I was poking around, believe it or not, trying to tap points for sounds and stuff so I could reverse engineer what the sounds were doing. It's a nightmare.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like when you got one with a fault and you're testing it, you could get at one side of the board, you could get to the resistor. But if you wanted to test the other side, you had to take the board out and hopefully be able to turn it round and not pull on the wires too much. And then you're presented with 30,000 solder joints. You go, now, which one is the end of the resistor I want to test? And it's like, no, not that one. No. Yeah, nightmare. So I'm so glad this thing is out now, so that I can go, no, take it away, go to the Cherry Audio website and buy it.
But it was very clever doing that, because the only way they could get it into that form factor was to vertically mount at the time.
Yeah.
That's the only way you could cram it all in. The other thing which I forgot to mention was I spent endless hours just playing these things, and it would end up being like a full manual mix where you had 4 or 5 people on the board doing the mix and often someone else running the drum machine if you were doing something that's supposed to be live. And it was such a colossal pain in the ass. So you're putting the sequencer in there, the step sequencer in there. I love you for that, because like Robbie, I really like the way that there's a different way you think about rhythm differently when you're programming it in that way, and you end up with some very happy accidents sometimes that you otherwise wouldn't. And I love that. I love you for it. Thank you so much.
I think that on the original hardware, what they had was a bunch of volume controls for different groups of sounds. And I imagine the thinking was, you don't need to program it because you can bring elements in and out, and you can, change any of the built-in patterns to be slower or faster. You can swing them. You can, take stuff in and out and sort of make it your own that way. And it certainly helped, but it does it's not the same thing as having a programmable drum machine.
Yeah.
I was
But
in.
I don't think that they ever thought. Sorry, I don't think that they ever thought it would end up being used in the way it was. I think they were thinking of the sort of organist
Yeah, for
circuit,
sure.
or the small band circuit.
Yeah, I don't know. In 1979, there was a pretty vibrant, synthesizers. The Prophet 5 had been out for 2 years. People were making music with all this equipment, and programmable drum machines were starting to exist. So I don't know. What I do know is because they didn't make it programmable, it sort of became one of these really lesser known instruments. I was in London in December, and I went to the Musical Museum, which is just a really, really, really great place in London. And they have a Korg exhibit. They have the Korg Gallery, which they have, every great instrument that Korg ever made out on display. And on the wall, they have a giant timeline of all the products that Korg made. And the KR-55 and KR-55B are non-existent in the timeline. In the museum. They'd never even heard of it.
Shocking.
Yeah, and for such a great drum machine to sort of disappear into history, because it's not programmable, is a real shame. And you know how much at Cherry Audio we love the sort of quirky, lesser known instruments. This just, it just screamed to be done properly. It screamed to be reinvented, and I'm so glad we did.
Everyone loves an underdog, eh? That museum in Brentford is. I still need to go. I mean, it's not that far away from me to go, and I've not been there. So
It's
yeah,
a
definitely
blast.
need to go. Yeah,
I highly
because it was
recommend.
on my doorstep. Because you were talking about the way this was used. For example, Depeche Mode. It was pretty much all over Speak and Spell, their first album, but they didn't use every instrument. So, for example, they deemed the kick on this to be not good enough, and they replaced that with an ARP 2600, I believe. But they could just find a pattern that they liked and then just dial the kick down and put their own kick in, and people were using it in that way. They were just taking out the bits they didn't like and maybe supplementing them elsewhere. And again, you would have thought that had Korg cottoned onto this, they might have just given it that programmability. But I guess if they had, it may have just become one of many of these sort of programmable machines, but it kind of made it stand out and be a bit unique. Who knows? It's an interesting what might have been. Let's go and see. We've got some questions mostly from Nick Howes, because that's pretty much all that Nick Howes does. Nick Howes puts questions in the show before the show's even started. That's how keen he is. He wants to soak up the knowledge. So let's start off. Let's see if we can find some specific ones, because there are some more general ones in here. Okay, so we did sort of touch on this, but this is from the Crazy Rabbit, actually. Is there a big difference between the fill button of the KR-55 and the CR-78? I mean, you kind of alluded to the fact that what the KR does is quite different. So you would say that they are pretty disparate things.
Oh yeah, the CR-78's fill logic is really weird. There's only a handful of different fills, and there's an auto fill feature. There's a knob where you set how many measures until the fill comes in, and then when you hit that fill button on a CR-78, it doesn't fill immediately. It waits until it gets to the second or the fourth repeat, and then it puts in a fill. The KR-55 was meant to be played in real time. When you want to fill, you have to hit that button at just the right time, and it will start filling immediately, which is really cool. But one of the, not to go off on a tangent, but one of the quirks of the 55 that we didn't like is if you switch from one preset to another, it instantly changes mid-pattern from whatever pattern you're playing to whatever pattern you've selected. So if you want the patterns to change musically, you have to just time it exactly right. And we didn't like that, so you won't find that in Cherry Audio's KR-55C. When you select a different preset pattern, or even a different pattern in the programmer, it'll wait till the end of the current pattern and then switch to the new one. So we did make some very small improvements. I think you have to understand that the KR-55, the hardware is not, there's no microprocessor. It's a lot of logic chips and stuff. So there were limitations to what they could do. But it is a much more real-time, instantaneous instrument. And it is fun. That fill button really is fun.
Yeah. Nick wants to know, does it have individual output options?
The hardware or the software? The hardware did
software.
not. The software comes in both a individual and a multi-out plug-in version. So yes, if you load the KR-55C multi-out version, then every drum sound will be on its own individual output in your DAW.
As it should be, indeed. And another one from Nick. When the Cherry Audio team talk about reverse engineering, what level do you go to? Are we talking ACB, which is obviously Roland's level, where each component is modeled, or how do you go about it? Or is that a top secret?
No, we've talked about this on the show before.
Yeah.
So component modeling is not really... No one really does that, not in the audio domain. We do what you would call circuit modeling, where we look at the output, the signals that are coming out of each circuit. In the case of a drum machine, the envelope shapes, the oscillator shapes, the distortions, and we recreate all of those elements. And that's how we end up. So with something like a kick drum, for example, on a KR-55, there are multiple synthetic elements. There's the click of it, and then there's the sort of bass oscillator sound. And the mix of those two are what create the kick drum. And that's what's editable in our software because we've recreated that circuit.
Yeah. Gotta say thank you to our good friend in Australia, Steve the Bastard, for 20 Australian dollars. Thank you very much indeed for your donation. Of course, I think I forgot to tell you all, if you want to donate during the show, just a little one-off amount, you can do that using the Super Chat and Super Stickers facility. If you're watching on Catch Up, then of course you can do that using the thanks button that is underneath the main screen where you're watching us right now. So if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. It is not mandatory, but we love it when you do. So thank you very much indeed. And thank you, Steve, for that donation. We've got some more questions in the bank, which are kind of more general questions. So I'll save those towards later in the show because we want to sort of stay on target with this one. Let's see. Where do we go now? So with... You've now got the KR-55, you've got the CR-78. Did you have another drum machine, or are these just the two?
Those are the two that we've done.
The two. I know you never tell us, and we're not asking you, but do you want to do another drum machine, and do you have something in mind? Because I'm just in such a drum machine zone at the moment that I'd love to know that you're doing another one, because I'll throw some ideas at you maybe, but. Any plans anymore?
That's a good question. I don't think we have any plans at the moment. We just finished this one. And these drum machines are a lot of work. So the KR-55C, 240 patterns, intros, fills, patterns, all of which were done by Mitchell. All of which had to be recreated. All of the drum synthesis, like Mitchell said, he took the thing apart. He studied the circuits. Mitchell is our resident drum synthesist. He's extremely good at recreating these drum sounds. So Mitchell actually did all the synthesis for the KR-55 and the CR-78. The KR-55 was his idea. He brought it to us and wanted to do it. And so this instrument is really a testament to Mitchell and all of his many, many skills. And that's what makes it extra sad for us to announce that this is Mitchell's last instrument with us. He's retiring. He's moved out to the woods in Connecticut, and he's actually retiring. And our future products will be designed by Mal. And And so this is sort of the final chapter of 31 synthesizers and a bunch of effects that Mitchell has designed and laid out and built with us at Cherry Audio. So it's a bittersweet release for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we should go on record and say thank you, Mitchell, because this is not the last time you're coming on the show, I'll have you know.
I hope not.
Okay. No. Okay. But we have thoroughly enjoyed everything that you've had a hand in, and you've done amazing stuff, and we love you for it. And I know Cherry Audio will miss you. We will miss your input on these things, but I know that it's in safe hands, and I'm sure you're happy that it's in safe hands too. But thank you for everything that you've done.
Of course. Thank you very much. I'm humbled.
No.
You know, I always just say, "Oh, I just draw pictures of synthesizers." But you know, I'm sorry. My dog is. Let me grab my dog. Maybe I can make her shut up.
Okay, no worries.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
amongst
just
yourselves.
just to say, I mean, Mitchell's contribution has been, pretty important to you, Dan, hasn't it? From his time with the company, it's going to be it's going to take a big chunk out of your process and your team, isn't it?
You can't replace someone like Mitchell. He's been invaluable to the team and the process, and beyond that, he and I have been friends for many years, and everything Cherry Audio has ever done, Mitchell and I have been behind. So
Yeah,
it's a change. It's been coming for a while, and
but he's getting on a bit. Yeah, he's getting. Yeah.
but yeah, it's actually there are 3 separate people who have stepped up to take on the responsibilities of of one Mitchell. And
You hear that, Mitchell? You're 3 men in one. Wow.
No. No, I mean, I've had a great time doing it, and I don't know that anyone really will get this deep into it, but I'm seeing like in the chat, it really is just because, my wife and I have sort of been building up this for a while and have this lovely place out in the woods, and I'm building a studio out here. I am very fortunate to have a genius architect for a neighbor. You can almost see his place through the window back there. Wow. And so he's helping me design this place. And really, it comes down to I can do it, so I'm very fortunate. And as much as I love drawing synths, I like playing them even more.
Yes.
So this is really just an opportunity for me to just, move forward with my music non-career. And
come on! You're being
hundreds of dollars to be made in the music industry these days. It's really
a year,
burgeoning. So, kidding aside, I mean, I love writing and recording music. I love engineering and mixing and doing all that and playing with synthesizers. And so, this is just really that's all it is.
Yeah.
I've had a great time working for Cherry, and I can honestly say, great bunch of folks, and it's been the coolest job I've ever had. So there's nothing nefarious there. And I've done a lot of instruments. Before I did all the voltage instrument, or before I did all of the Cherry instruments, I did all the voltage modules, or most of them, for the company. So, it's I just kind of feel like, okay, I've done this, and
Mitchell, can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. You're going to be doing all this music. You could use. I know a company that makes plugins you could use, but unfortunately, you're not going to get the staff discount now.
I know. I thought about that. I totally thought about that. I'm losing a lot of things. I lose that. I lose my Adobe subscription. No. You know what? I love our stuff. I really do. But also, I have all this hardware. You can't see it in the picture. It's not nearly as impressive as Dan's thing. You can sort of see stuff back there. But it takes time. If if you want to use hardware as opposed to software, it's a lot more time consuming. In many ways. So, I want to fool with all that stuff more. And so yeah, I mean, that's certainly an element. And really, truthfully, this is no BS. I don't get to use the Cherry stuff that much. I really don't. Like, I feel like I'm not complaining. I know a lot of people would love this job, but I draw pictures of it in Illustrator. and we kill ourselves in the development app, and Dan and I just bust our butts, and Mal too, and to get all this stuff out, and then you get it out and it's done. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Next project, and you just move on to the next thing, and you feel like, okay, I'm gonna really do all these cool things with this plug, but you don't get an opportunity to. So again, this will buy me time to really dig into our stuff that is so cool that I never get to play with. So yeah,
absolutely.
Mind you, you never know. You might have to come back. SR95.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about any of that.
Manny Fernandez says, Mitchell, 2 words: hardware jams every weekend. Something to do.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. I mean, we spoke to Mitchell on your own, didn't we? Some while ago. We'll have to do that again. But you were telling us about your musical background and history. You are a very accomplished musician, a very talented musician.
Oh, thank you.
So it's going to be really nice to hear you do something with these things rather than just drawing them and coming on and talking.
Yeah,
about
I do
it.
actually have stuff recorded. I'm not here to plug my stuff. I don't.
No, go for it.
It's not important if people go listen to or attempt to stream my music. I did a record a couple of years ago under my name. It's just under Mitchell Sigman. It's called Outbound. It's a very Pink Floyd-y kind of concept space record thing, like intentionally done like that. And to cut a long story short, guy I met out here, played it for him, and he's like, we should go play this and learn how to play it. I got a drummer friend. He's a bass player. And I was just kind of like, really? Why?
There you go.
But he's like, it'll be fun. So long story short, we've learned my entire record. We're ready to go play it somewhere for a bunch of people who don't care. And, I just been doing stuff like that. And recording some other songs. And, it's, doing music's fun, I've found.
Yeah. Might make enough money to buy a Starbucks.
But fortunately, that's not the goal. The goal is really just to enjoy playing music and put stuff out and work with people and, produce and all that.
That's cool. Well,
I've seen the architectural designs for Mitchell's new studio, and don't feel bad for Mitchell. He's going to have a lot of fun out there.
It's considerably bigger than this room.
Good. Well, listen, don't be a stranger. You are always welcome to come on, even if you want to plug your stuff. We want you here, and when that studio's done, we want a tour. On the show.
It should be pretty neat.
We want to see that. That's brilliant. Well, listen.
How long before the studio's done, Mitchell?
I don't know. I really want to get it hopefully done before next winter. Right now, where we're at, pretty much it's all drawn up. The architectural plans are all done. It's basically something like a 3-car garage with a build over the whole thing. So it's about 1,000 square feet of studio space, which is something in meters. I don't know, 300 square meters. And it's all drawn up. The architect has done the whole thing. I've been going back and forth with him and an acoustics guy here named Ethan Weiner. He's pretty well known on like gear space, gear slots. And now we have to submit plans to the finicky city of Stamford, Connecticut, and get that approved. And I've got a contractor, and so I wish I had a better answer, but I'd like to get it done before winter.
Cool. Well,
Can I make an uneducated guess here? Is that a VP330 standing up behind us?
Certainly is. It's not any VP330. It's Greg Hawkes's VP330.
Wow.
Well, it's mine now, but
Wow. That's cool. I'd like to see that in situ.
It's my only famous instrument. Famous person owned.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. There's a Jupiter 4 right there too.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Is that the P5? That's not a Rev 2 one, is it?
No, it's a Rev 3. And has the Rev 2.
Otherwise, I have to go and kill it.
Yeah, there's a Rev 3 there, and I have a reissue Prophet 10 here, which is what I use more. But the other one still sounds a little better.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
There you go. So, nice little segue here. Just looking to the right of your shot here, so to your left, is that a keyboard controller that you have next to you, just on your left there? The big weight, that thing there.
Yeah, that's just an Arturia Keylab 88. It's the first one. It's nothing too special, but it's it's a really nice 88 controller. Yeah.
I think that was a brilliant segue for this. There we go. That's enough of that. But if you want to go and watch the whole performance of Belle Chen there on the brand new Arturia Keylab 88 Mark III, it's on their YouTube channel, and it's well worth a watch. She's rather incredible. I could see smoke coming off the fast-moving fingers there. This is the news, of course, that Arturia have released their latest flagship keyboard controller, the Keylab 88 Mark III. Here it is for you. No, not that. Here it is. Premium keys for modern creatives. It is a fully weighted hammer action keybed, a brand new Fatah design. It's the TP110. The previous one had the TP100. The 110 has, I am told by Arturia, been developed to give you the same kind of feel of the weight and the hammer action, but also the ability to have a slightly lighter touch and a smoother action, as demonstrated by Belle there when she was doing those very fast pieces on the keyboard there. It is a gorgeous thing. I've had one now for a few weeks, been playing with it, and it's a lovely thing. And so much so, by the way, is Andrew Brooks in the chat? Hopefully not. Don't tell him, but I've actually retired my KX88, which was always my favorite weighted controller. This surpasses it in my humble opinion, and it's got all the features that you would expect from the Keylab range. So it's got the 9 faders, the 9 360-degree potentiometers, all of which are touch sensitive. So all you need to do is just lightly touch your finger on the top of either the fader or the rotary control, and the screen will tell you exactly what it's controlling and whereabouts its position is across the range, as you can see in that little video clip there. Full door integration with pretty much every major and some minor doors in there as well. It's got 12 pads, not 16 like the previous one, but you can have 4 banks of 12 pads. So there's 48 pad assignments that you can have on there. All the other stuff is pretty much there. So all the door control with the transport, undo, redo, quantize. There's scale functionality. There's arpeggiation functionality. On the back, they've actually dropped CV and gate, which they had on the last one. And I wasn't entirely certain if having CV and gate on an 88-note weighted controller was probably something that was in very much demand. And I guess Arturia have thought that as well. So you've got 4 pedal inputs, plus you've got regular MIDI. You've got USB-C, which will deliver power and MIDI as well. And there is also space for its own separate 12-volt mains power adapter, which doesn't come with it. But if you don't want to power your Keylab from a computer, then you can do that through that. It's gorgeously built. It's got the extension table at the back on the right hand side, so you can safely put your laptop. It's rubber coated as well, so nothing will slip off there. A lovely sheet music stand, which very cleverly, it's a very simple thing, but it has a hole in the center at the bottom, so if you're using an iPad to read your sheet music from, you can just gently put the USB cable up and into your iPad there without having to traipse it or bend it or anything like that. It's just very, very simple, but a very useful little design there. Wonderful controller. I really like it. It sits under my desk now. I was very lucky to get the black one. They're in limited numbers. These are selling for, I think, Thomann are selling them for around £834 for either the white or the black one, but the black one is in fewer quantities at the moment. Of course, if demand rises enough, they will produce more of those, but it's a wonderful thing. And it is available now, €999, about £850 UK, and I think 700 US or around that. But do check your local suppliers for the accurate prices. So there you go. That is the Arturia Keylab 88 Mark III. I'm going to go to our guys first, because they've both got what I think is, up until this point, one of the nicest keybeds. Oh, and it is worth saying here, this doesn't have polyphonic aftertouch, which a lot of people have gone, ah. It's got regular aftertouch. It's very nice, but it doesn't have polyphonic, and it doesn't feature their full touch sensitive keybed that's featuring on the Polybrute 12, and I don't think we're going to see that outside of the Polybrute 12 for a little while yet. But let's go to Keybed, who has a Montage M8X, which has this wonderful polyphonic aftertouch, weighted hammer action, and you've often gone on record to say that polyphonic aftertouch and weighted hammer action keyboards should not work together. That one does. Have they missed a trick with the Arturia one?
Possibly, because the other one that's lurking on the market, of course, is the Complete Control 88, which has polyphonic aftertouch. Now, interestingly enough, the reason if I was going to get an 88-note hammer action machine, I would get the Complete Control, but that is because I am a heavy contact user because of orchestral libraries.
Yes.
So they tend to go hand in hand mostly. So that would be the route I would go anyway over the Arturia one. However, that said, this is still a beautifully crafted piece of equipment.
That's real wood on the end as well.
Well, exactly. I mean, based on the PB12, if I was to use that as a benchmark to give me an idea of what this is like, it's going to be beautiful. It's robust and a joy to use.
Yeah, the chassis is all metal with wood end cheeks. The top panel is plastic, I believe, but it's a beautifully constructed thing. It's not light either. It's about 18 kilos on its own. In the packaging and everything, it goes up to about 22. So it was quite a heavy thing, but it is very well put together. Andrew, do you think the lack of polyphonic aftertouch is an issue, given that this integrates so well with all of their instruments, which, of course, Analog Lab Pro, which this comes with as part of the package, is, I believe, MPE compatible. So they've not really even taken advantage of the main instrument that they're selling with this keyboard.
I don't think it will, because for some it will, obviously, but first of all, the price is ridiculously good for that level of weightedness. And also, I was noticing when Belle was playing, she was able to do the trills on the key. You can't do that with this. This is a great keyboard, but you can't do the trills. It's really difficult. You have to be really, whereas that looks like it's got a much more positive response. So for the kind of piano playing, it's good. And if you want access to the MPE, you can get MPE enabled keyboards. There is the contact stuff, and there's the Korg one as well, which gives you poly aftertouch and all of that kind of thing. So, and that's not horribly expensive either. So I like that. I was just thinking whether or not I could use it, and just because it plays so much better, and I love playing piano and organ and all that kind of stuff, that looks like a really, really good keyboard. Arturia, if they'd have gone down the polyphonic aftertouch route, they would have had to. It would have been a lot more expensive, a lot heavier. I hope they do it at some point, but I can see a market for it, and I have to say I am tempted, just because I love that real piano action. I mean, what have you made of it? Just out of interest, what have you made of it?
Well, like I said, I'm not a competent player by any stretch of the imagination. I could live to 1,000 years old and never be as good as Belle that we saw there in the video. However, I do appreciate a nice weighted action, and the KX88 for me has always been the benchmark. Ever since I got it, it's just lovely. It feels nice. It responds well. But of course, as a controller, it's set in the 80s, because it doesn't have any of the modern functionality that this does. Doesn't have any of the integration. And if you want to program a KX88, well, good luck, because it's all done in hex, and it's an absolute pain in the backside. So to have something that has all of that functionality plus this amazingly, this amazing sort of keyboard that is so nice to play, that when you play sounds such as piano sounds, it just feels right. But when you move to the synth stuff, it doesn't feel heavy or sluggish.
Here's a question for you, Robbie. Can you route a polyphonic, an on-weight, a semi-weighted keyboard with polyphonic aftertouch or MPE? Can you route it through into that keyboard, into the 88, and then back out again? Because if you could do that, then you've got the ideal situation, haven't you? If you've got a Hydra or something.
Well, for me, like Kent, I've got a Polybrute 12 next to me, which has all of that and more. So I don't, it's not as if I'm short of something like that. Could you do that? Well, so the KX88 has soft through, and you can assign that. So I'm sure that if it allows you to pass Poly AT data through it, you could.
No, sorry, I mean the Arturia, the Keylab, the 88 you've got now, the new one.
Yes. So what are you trying to say? Sorry, maybe I've misunderstood.
Sorry. What I was trying to say was the Keylab, that keyboard that you've now got, the version 3.
Yeah.
That's got a beautiful piano action, but it doesn't have polyphonic aftertouch. But if
Right.
you were to mount another keyboard on top that was just a controller or already had that facility, could you route essentially the keyboard, the MIDI, the polyphonic MIDI of that through into the 8 and then have that going out so it's controlling the Arturia library stuff?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I do. I haven't tried it, so I'll get back to you on that one. But yeah, I mean, you should be able to route it through. Like I said, the 88 has a configurable soft through, so anything you send into it, you can set it to spit it out through the out port, and whether that's the MIDI output or the USB MIDI. So I'm sure it is possible. But like I said, I mean, I've got the KX. I've got the Keylab here by my knees, and then if I want the stuff, it's not a big deal really for me. But there are obviously people that don't have Poly AT keyboards, and that would have been a nice thing to have. I don't care about the CV and gate not being there. That doesn't bother me. I'm not necessarily fussy about the fact that it's only got 12 pads instead of 16, which is the traditional kind of configuration. However, what I did think was, instead of having 12 pads, one of the things that the Keylab 88 can do, and let me just see if I can find a shot here. Let's go in on this. So as you see, you've got these 12 pads. Those are poly aftertouch, so they're pressure sensitive individually, and they're velocity sensitive, but they're also RGB lit, and so you can configure the lighting to match with your Ableton Live configuration. So you can use this as a clip launcher, and you can see exactly where you are using the lighting, and the Ableton Live scripts will allow you to do all that. I did wonder, instead of having 3 rows of 4 pads, if you were to divide each of those rows in half, and so you had 6 rows of pads at half the size each of those, that would be a lot more useful to people that are using this with things like Ableton Live and clip launching. I mean, Logic does clip launching, most of them do some sort of clip launching. So I don't know whether I would use these pads to enter drums. I've got a launch pad with a 64 grid thing on it I use for drums, or I just play the drums in myself. I would have preferred maybe something a little bit more Ableton-esque on that. But
and we will get to the other story, but the reason I mentioned that is just simply, I've got a KX88, and it's a bit knackered at the moment, needs fixing up. They're not really going for very much anymore, and I've always adored the KX88 as well, and I was thinking about whether or not I fix it, put it above this so I can do the trills and the hammers and the soft MIDI and all that stuff. With that would seem to me, 2 88s stacked above each other, that one with its beautiful keyboard. That's suddenly a solution for me that I think I'm really, really going to have to investigate.
I'm not going to get rid of the KX88, that's for sure. It's just gone into storage at the moment, but the hope is that at some point I'll be able to have both available to me in various different parts of my future Mitchell Sigman style studio at some point when I retire, whenever that's probably in a few years. So it's a lovely, lovely thing. Cherry Audio gentlemen, I mean, Mitchell, you've got a Mark 1 next to you there. Are you tempted by this to upgrade?
No.
Okay.
Well,
why? Tell me why.
I hate to speak this way, but I am such an atypical user / customer. I use mine for playing piano sounds, and of course I use it to program general things when I'm in Logic. But I like the whole Poly AT thing is lost on me. Maybe in 10 years I'll get into it and be totally late to the game. But I tend to use regular piano and electric
Yeah.
piano sounds and so forth in a very straightforward, traditional way. And I tend to use synthesizers in a really traditional way,
Sure.
which means playing, major thirds with one hand on my Prophet and twisting a knob. So I'm so backwards when it comes to how I use instruments. Like these sort of giant, huge, impressive sounds with tons of effects where I'm controlling the effect depth with aftertouch and doing all these crazy nuances. It almost doesn't sound like a synthesizer to me anymore. This is a whole other conversation, but
Yeah.
it sounds like this amazing, incredible instrument that I don't know. I like to hear like a raw sawtooth wave that's barfy and weird.
Yeah.
So therefore, the one I have is way more than I need. It's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dan, are you an 88 player, or do you prefer your synths?
No, I've got a Kronos 88.
Oh, okay.
It's not in frame, but that's what I use as a controller. I love a good weighted 88 key controller for piano. I'm like Mitchell. I like to play. I like to play piano and electric piano sounds.
Dan's really good, actually. He doesn't tell you, but he actually can play really well.
I don't doubt that for a second. Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting that they didn't put poly aftertouch in it, and it's interesting that 5 or 10 years ago we wouldn't even ask.
We wouldn't have thought about it, would we?
But
Yeah.
we're kind of living in this
some of
golden
us
age
would.
of poly aftertouch, and maybe they'll make a pro version.
Yeah.
It would cost more to have that, but
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, there's obviously a connection with them and Fatar because they use the Fatar keybed. I don't know about the Mark 1, but certainly on the Mark 2. So there clearly is a relationship there. I know that Fatar have got a poly aftertouch keyboard in Synth Action, which they used on one of the Waldorfs. I can't remember if it was the M or the Quantum. I can't remember which one it was. So they are able to do poly aftertouch keyboards. I just wonder maybe that they're not quite there yet with their hammer action poly aftertouch. Yeah. And Arturia said, look, we need to update this. Let's put this one out. And then, like you say, either there might be a pro version, or they might just wait until the Mark IV, which will probably be in a few years' time anyway.
I was going to ask, doesn't Korg use some? Doesn't their standalone keybed polyphonic aftertouch?
The key stage 49 and 61s are definitely, and I don't know, they don't do an 88. I know that they do a 49 and a 61. I don't think they do anything above that yet, but they are, as you say, they're polyphonic aftertouch, but they are synth action.
And aren't they Fatar keybeds?
No,
were they?
No, they're ASM.
They got that from the Hydra. ASM.
They did,
that's right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
Right,
Yeah. So, it'd be interesting to see. But I don't know. I mean, I can see, like Kent would say that polyphonic aftertouch and weighted keyboards, generally don't mix because people that use 88 note controllers maybe aren't the sort of people that use instruments that have polyphonic aftertouch. But I guess there are options out there. Nevertheless, for those of us who are spoiled, we have the ability to play that. It's not, for me, it's not a big loss, but I would have liked to have seen it. But it's not a big loss because I can just turn and there's a poly aftertouch keyboard. Kent, on the other hand, can just go like this and hit polyphonic aftertouch keyboard after polyphonic aftertouch keyboard. Even in front of you, you've got a Rise. Oh no, it's to your left, isn't it?
I got me Hydra to the
left. You got Hydra in front of you,
and me Rise too.
Yeah,
but no, the reason I say it is because there is a competitor on the market already that's only £100 more that has the Poly AT and a screen.
There's a big screen as well.
A colour screen on it. It's literally like having your own bleeding widescreen TV. And you still have all the controls.
That is true. That is very true.
I think it comes down to horses for courses. The Arturia one is going to be for people who want to play piano sounds. Yeah. Or electric piano sounds, or that kind of thing. Admittedly, I mean, although this is hammer action and has Poly AT, when you use the synth sounds, there it is. But you're not playing it in a piano way when you're doing the synth sound. When you're doing the piano, you're not using the AT because you don't want AT on the piano because then it's not an authentic piano sound.
Exactly. Yeah.
So all right, it can do both jobs well, not necessarily at the same time.
Yeah.
So maybe long run it doesn't matter, but I must admit the complete control is going to win it for me but mostly because I use contacts.
Use those, yeah.
So,
And that's another thing. Obviously the Keylab is designed to work, brilliantly with the V collection, which is an incredible collection of instruments, and it works really, really well with that in both directions. So you can just sit there and really not even have to look at your computer to go through the instrument and the settings. Everything's mapped beautifully. It's just there. You don't have to worry about it. Of course, if you're using other stuff, UVI, native instruments, whatever, it's not going to give you all of that. You would have to program that. And programming this is not a hard task in any shape or form, because the screen is informative. It could do with being a little bit larger. But like you say, if you are set in the Arturia world, then this is going to be almost a no-brainer. If you're in the native instruments world, then the control is going to be a no-brainer. So there's something for everyone, I guess, at the end of the day. But there you go. Thank you, gentlemen, for your opinions on that. That is the Arturia Keylab Mark III 88. Is available now in black and white. And I tell you what, those legs, I bought a set for my Polybrute 12. They really set them off. It's one of the best couple of £100 I've spent on hardware, those legs. And you can swap them between Polybrutes and Astrolabs and Keylabs and everything. So they're a really cool addition, and they're very stylish. If you're putting your controller in a space where you can actually show it off, they're really nice. So little plug for the legs there. Let's see what else we have got. This is actually, I'm going to do this one because we've got two representatives of one of the leading software synthesizer manufacturers in the world today. And this is actually a really interesting concept. This is virtualsynthesizers.com. And what it is a regularly updated, as you can see in the little ticker tape at the top there, it was updated just today. What this essentially is a database of instruments. And if you are looking for a plug-in version of a particular instrument, you click on it and it will tell you who makes it, where you can find it. So, for example, let's go and choose Peter's favourite instrument, Peter James Stephen, the guy that helps me do a lot of the live stuff. He likes his Rhodes Chroma Polaris. So you click on it and it will give you a little bit of background about the instrument, and then tell you that you can get it in VST form using UVI's Chroma. You can also get it in contact form with Synth Magic. They have a version of that. And it will give you links to take you off to those places. For example, let's pick another one. Let's pick the SK30, which is something that has been talked about in our little circle for the last week or so. At the moment, that can only be found in UVI string machines, but there it is. It tells you that's where, if you want those sounds, that's where you can find it, and so on and so forth. Let's pick one that Cherry Audio have got. Let's see, anyone want to throw one out there that what should we look for? Anything?
Jupiter 4 maybe.
Let's have a look at Jupiter 4. Yeah, let's Jupiter 4. So click on Jupiter 4 and it will tell us, when it eventually loads up, that in the VST realm you have top of the list Cherry Audio, Mercury 4, Roland Cloud, Jupiter 4, and UVI's JP Legacy. If you're looking for contact, well, there's samples from Mars and Transonic there. If you want it in the Reason format, there are the samples there, and of course the samples just plain and ordinary. But yeah, there you go. Cherry Audio is top of the tree when it comes to the Jupiter 4. And there's some examples, audio examples. There's more details about the actual hardware synthesizer. I think this is a really useful, free, clever resource that allows people to look for those instruments that they want. And it's not just synthesizers, it's organs, it's electronic keyboards, sound chips, pipe organs, drum machines. Let's see how up to date it is. If we go and look for, where are we? HIJK, Korg, click on that, Korg, KR-55. Click on KR-55, let's give it a wait.
Well, that's something for them to do tomorrow.
There you go. Well, we'll cut them a break on that one because it has only been out a few days. Yeah. But so it's interesting. I quite like any. Let's talk to the plugin. GS1. Oh God, let's do that, and then we'll ask Dan what he thinks of this. So Yamaha GS1. let's just go back to the page here. So can we quickly jump to the manufacturer? I think we can. So you can also filter by synthesis type, country of manufacture.
There it is.
Oh, did I? There it is. Yeah,
go.
GS1. So, as I imagined, it's got the IK Multimedia GSV, which is sampled from Eric Norlander's. Our friend Eric's instrument is there sampled in. You've got UVI's FM suite that contains GS1 samples, and the Zilslab KOX, which, of course, does it as well. So, there it is. Yeah. So, that's it. So, head of Cherry Audio, what do you think about this?
I was playing around on this site a little bit, and it's one of these things that came out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from, but it's full of information. And my understanding is that they're adding, there are some things that are missing, and they're adding stuff to it all the time. So it looks like an amazing resource. For me, it was sort of overwhelming to just see all the different instruments. I mean, really rare stuff that you can get as sample libraries. And I wasn't aware of a lot of this. So I need to spend some more time on there and do a bit of exploring. But yeah, very cool. Again, I don't know who's behind it, but they put a lot of work into it. It's a great resource.
I mean, I have no idea how long this has been around, but this was only brought to my attention the other week.
We just found out about it ourselves.
So it's hats off. I don't know who these guys are, where they're from, what they do, how they do it, why they're doing it. But I'm just glad that they are doing it because it's a really useful resource. Somebody says, "Oh, I'd love to have a plug-in version of this." Actually, here's I'm going to test it here now. I'm going to look for the RMI. That's which one is it that you really like? Is it the harmonic synthesizer or the keyboard computer?
The harmonic synthesis. Yeah.
Okay, so RMI harmonic synthesizer. Let's just bring this up.
I know
on
there
screen.
is one, but I can't remember who by.
So, you've got the jiggery pokery sound one, which is the one I've told you about, which works in Reason, but also in the Reason Rack plugin.
Yeah.
And then there's this other one here, Tom Sow's Instruments. Let's see if we can. There's not a link. It's not letting me. Oh, there you go. Tom says the RMI beta is finished. This is 2013. This is abandonware. But yeah, is that the one you were looking for, mate? There's still a download page for it.
Might be worth a sniff.
There you go. At the time, so this is 2013, I think. He says he's I'm assuming that's 17 years old. He's just not 17 French electronic musicians. But what's the collective name for 17 French electronic musicians?
An uprising?
An uprising, yeah. A revolution.
A revolution.
I'm impassioned by synthesizers and other electronic. That's why I just decided to build VSTs.
Well, it's one particular preset patch I want from that. So if it's got it, job done.
Yeah, have a look. I mean, it's old, but I mean, there does seem to be. Let's see, if I click on the beta download, see, because the version 1 is still dead. Beta download just sits there hanging at the moment. I just realised I'm not sharing my screen there. It doesn't seem to be there. I'll report back on that one.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway. The funny thing about that, you were saying, Dan, that you're looking through it and there's lots and lots. There are lots of them. Having looked through a lot of them are sample libraries of those. Yeah. And sample libraries are a flavour of rather than an emulation. And I think that's where what you guys have done has been extraordinary. And there are others, but I think you've done a really, really good job with emulating so that you get a real sense. The 3300 for me, because I owned one, it's just so accurate, And there are sample library versions of it, and there are other versions of it. Yours just knocks it out the park. So yeah, really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
And what's this?
This is free as well. This is from Tascam. So Tascam do a bunch of digital audio recorders, and they now provide a free audiophile browser with waveform display that doesn't just work with their stuff, it works with anything. So anybody can install this completely free of charge and manage and organize and audition all of your files, and you can do batch renaming, and you can use it. There's support for network drives and cloud services such as Dropbox. So if you are big into the field recording or just sampling in general, this is a great way of organizing and managing and messing around with your content. Of course, it works wonderfully well with their range of digital recorders, but you don't need to have it. It's completely free of charge and available from Tascam Europe.
And I'm downloading it right now. That's a
There you go.
brilliant resource, especially for the online stuff, the cloud-based stuff. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, yes. Thank you, Ben, for putting the link in there. Yeah, so the link, if you want to download that, is in the chat right now. But yeah, useful little thing. I mean, with it, apart from Andy that's already downloading it, you've got all these different options of zooming in horizontally. There's display sizing. You can analyze stuff. There's loads of functionality in here. Would you all sort of see this as a useful thing if you're into your samples?
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool for drum samples too.
Yes. Right? Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I have a million of loops and drum samples. Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Yeah, and multi-sampled instruments, with different velocities and layers. This would be great. If you're building an instrument, this would be a great way of organizing all that. Yeah, for sure. There we go. Little service to the community there. Thank you, Tascam, for that. And I particularly like this batch renaming. For example, I've been playing around with this Behringer LM drum, which I think is really good. It's the great combination of the hardware interface and the sound quality of it. But one thing it doesn't like is names that are very similar. So particularly if you've got a long file name, so maybe it says Simmons SDS5 Tom something or other. If it has a limit on how many characters that it looks at. And so if your file name extends over that limit and you've got 20 samples that say Simmons SDS5 Tom 1, and then maybe the velocity level you've got in the file name, it might, I'm just using this as an example, it might only just see SDS5 or Simmons SDS5 Tom. And if those 20 samples contain the same character at the beginning, every time it tries to write one over to the LM drum, it will overwrite the last one because it only sees the bit that's the same. So it's a little awkward. So I've been sort of frantically batch or renaming lots of samples just to cut that thing down to stop that from happening. And this would be a great way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got there in the end. Yeah. Cool. So that's the audio file manager from Tascam Europe. The link is in the chat. We'll post it there again just in case anybody missed it. But you can go and find that online, and it's free, completely free of charge.
Very handy app.
Very useful.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else have we got? Oh, yes, this is an interesting one. I know that Andy still has his. I still have mine. Kent sent his. I think you sent yours to Lamont of Symptoms of Reality. But this is...
In the process of, at least.
Oh, in the process of, yeah. This is the news that Sonicware, our friends at Sonicware, have updated the Ambient Zero to version 1.5. And the big headline change here is it now supports different multi-tonal capabilities. So I think there's 7 different tuning systems, including pure intonation, major and minor, Pythagorean tuning, sharp and flat, solfeggio frequencies, in addition to the standard equal temperament, which supports tuning from 410 to 470 kilohertz. They've also thrown in 64 sound pattern palettes that make use of all of these new tunings. There's a relaxation playback mode. Arrange your favorite patterns, set repeats and fade outs, and let it gently fill your space with ambient sound. Now, you might snigger at that, but I did that with my Ambient Zero early on. I just kind of left it going, and I just put it on low in the background, and it was really, really nice. It was just in the background. Very nice. So that's a clever little thing. Line in selectable on the noise layer, so you can actually now take an audio input and apply the filters, the LFOs, and other track level controls to the incoming signal on the noise layer, because obviously the Ambient Zero uses these different layers. So you can select it on the noise layer and then bring in anything you want and manipulate it with the filters and the LFOs. And then there's new LFO waveforms and assignments on here. This is a completely free update to the machine, and all machines that ship now out of the factory will come out with this 1.5.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah,
Very
good.
cool.
This is a really, really nice box. I don't know if Cherry Audio guys, whether have you dabbled with this or seen any of these Sonicware boxes?
I haven't, and I don't have much in the way of experience with microtonal sounds, so it's intriguing. It's intriguing.
Yeah, I know it was a very frequently asked for feature, because I think in the ambient world, these sort of things are a little bit more important to maybe traditional songwriting. But yeah, it's a cool thing.
Don't forget the microtonal is in addition to what it also does, which
Absolutely,
is
yeah.
standard tuning. So, but I love the sampling feature on it as well. You can load a sample across. You can put an 8-second sample in, and I've taken a 16-second sample of Thunder and Rain, sped it up twice the speed, loaded it across, and then I just play it an octave down. And with the kind of ambient stuff you're doing, it just sits there growling away in the background.
Yeah.
Because it's 16 seconds long. It's enormously. So not big thunder and lightning, just that grumbling thunder, and it's a lovely thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
cool.
it.
I think out of all their live ones, it's the one that has gone down well the most. With because anybody can pick this up, turn it on, and just start making these wonderful ambient evolving textures, and then there are people that's all they do, make ambient evolving textures, and that's their thing. But there are other people, Andy Synchrotron, who does his streams on 10 o'clock UK time every Saturday morning, who builds drones using his modular, and then plays guitar over them, or ebows his guitar over them, which is just, it's beautiful to listen to. So this is just kind of like, this is Andy Synchrotron in a box. They've managed to cram him and his beard into this little box, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Let's see. I think that there is this little demo video, because I think I'd be interested to hear this. Let me just see if I can add this to our system and give you a little bit of a playback. Hopefully it's quite short, so it won't take long before it gets in there, and I'll just carry on talking until it does, because that's kind of what I do. But yeah, you can pick the Ambient Zero up for around €279. I think it's about 240 or 250 UK US. You can order it direct from Sonicware, and I believe they do free shipping to most places. But of course, you can order it from your local retailer as well. Let's have a quick look. This is a vertical video. I do apologise. I thought it was smoking then, and realised there was incense sticks either side.
I was distracted by the smoke coming out of it. But
it is a beautiful thing. It's great. It really is. It's a lot of fun.
I saw that and was going, oh no, not again.
Another one that's on fire. Another one that's on fire. There's
Another one
another
smoking in the
capacitor. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I've just been alerted to the football score of my my local team, and it's not good. Never mind. So there you go. That's Ambient Zero 1.5 firmware. If you've got one of those, you can download the firmware for free from the Sonicware website and install it using their new web-based update tool. So you don't have to download any software. You just need to connect your Ambient Zero via MIDI to your computer, and then the web interface will take care of everything for you, which is cool. Okay. I don't think we've got much more to talk about. We've only got about 20 minutes, so let's go back to the questions. So stand by your beds, Cherry Audio team. Let's throw some in there. First of all, let's say thank you, massive thank you to Isham Solaris for his 5 Swiss chuffs. Thank you very much indeed. That's most appreciated. Dina Perlman wants to know when Mitchell is driving over to do the MCM tour.
That's pretty close to me, huh?
It is, yeah.
I guess, yeah. Now,
no excuses.
Now I have no excuses not to do all the things that, So I guess I should explain this a little bit.
Don't leave Dina hanging. Don't leave her hanging.
Yeah, well, Dina knows that I'm into mid-century stuff, so that's what that is. And we've sort of talked, and she showed me. I think I can discuss this. She sent me pictures of her folks' house, Alan Homer, of course, and it was just like really, really cool, like classic mid-century. Like they had really good taste, and so does Dina. So she sent me pictures of her place too. She had excellent taste. And whereas I'm just trying to make like something that looks like a spaceship or the set of 2001 or for you guys, what's that? Space 1999.
Oh,
looking
yes.
at that a lot
Eagles,
for studio inspiration. So so we're into all that stuff. That's why she's asking about that.
Cool. All right, here's one for Dan, our resident quizmaster, Nick Howes. I tell you, if we ever do a quiz, like a pub quiz or anything, Nick is going to be the question master. In terms of the coding of Cherry Audio products, do you have any specific frameworks for handling certain aspects? And do you uniquely model every oscillator from the ground up?
Every instrument we do starts out with the oscillators, moves on to the filters, which are really the most challenging part. Then the envelope generators, they all have different shapes and different lengths and different qualities to them. The LFOs, I mean, we just go section by section, component by component, until what comes out the end sounds like the hardware. In the case of something like the drum machine, there isn't... drum machines are sort of weirdly complex in that there's a lot of oscillators. Every drum sound is its own set of noise sources and oscillators and lo-fi filters and distortion circuits and things like that. And so the drum machines are particularly complex because every sound is like starting a synthesizer from scratch.
Yeah.
But every instrument we do is different, has different qualities to it, and the magic, the hard work, the the inspiration, it comes from tedious studying of every element of what makes a sound. Like Mitchell said with the drum machine, he was in there tapping the circuits at various points so that we could figure out what does the noise sound like that ultimately becomes a hi-hat or a cymbal. What do the oscillators sound like to make a kick drum? It's not exciting work, and it wouldn't be exciting to watch. It's a lot of playing a sound and looking at a spectrograph or an oscilloscope and studying the output of it. But when you do it right, it's magical.
Yeah, absolutely. And
with the drum machine stuff, it's funny, people ask questions about it. I think the hardest aspect of it really is, you probably wouldn't occur to you until you do it. Once you've figured out okay, this snare drum is made of white noise that's filtered in such a way, and a sine wave that's going boom for the tone, and some kind of click transient. The hardest thing is the way they're combined. You can't just throw up the faders, as it were, and it just sounds like the thing. You can really waste so much time, not waste, but spend so much time trying to figure out the proper balance of all those things and kind of the way they combine. And so it's really like Dan was saying, you've got all these kind of very basic sound sources, but it's the combination of them that's tricky. And the EQ and looking at it again on spectrum analyzers and trying to figure out how it all fits together.
Yeah, absolutely. Question here from Ros Gray, Rosgray 801. I found that on that plugin website we were talking earlier that no one has made a Hohner Clavioline plugin. So would Cherry Audio please consider making one? I believe that's a request more than a question, but would you consider one of those as those kind of
I don't
things?
think a Clavioline is all that particularly unique. I would guess you could get a lot of those sounds from our Solovox.
Yeah, I actually mentioned it in the chat. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. There we go. Excellent stuff. Let's see, what else have we got here? Another one from Nick, although this is kind of there are kind of two questions that are fairly similar here. So Nick says, have the team ever thought of combining all their wonderful plugins in a suite of recreations full classic tracks, thinking along the lines of the awesome Gatterbus in days of yore. Yeah, so have you? I mean, I know it's kind of difficult with copyright and stuff. You know, if you were to do recreations using just Cherry Audio plugins and then kind of marketing that, I don't know. Maybe it could be a series of videos on your channel how to recreate your favorite Depeche Mode track using a KR and whatever.
You want me to field this, Dan?
Yeah. Hey, Mitchell,
Okay.
you'll have some time on your hands.
Yeah.
So, without sounding too full of myself, I'm probably the only guy at the company who does that kind of thing, because I spent many years making backing tracks for cover bands and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm sure some people have heard our demos on the on the product pages. Generally, all the ones that are attempting to sound identical to an original song are me.
They're yours.
That's kind of a thing I do. So, I've done a bit of that, but it's a fair amount of work if you really want to get it exactly right. And I mean, the only thing, it'd be a little easier if you could use any of our instruments. Sometimes, we're doing it just to demonstrate one instrument, so you try to use just that instrument. It's something we could do. I don't know if there's demand for it or not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have, what people don't realize, we have 31 instruments, and every one of those instruments on the website has all kinds of unique demo music that has been composed around that instrument. And I always thought it would be fun to cut a vinyl record of the best of the Cherry Audio instrument demo songs.
Yeah.
Some of them are so really, really cool, but I think I'm the only one that would buy it. So
I don't know about that.
You'd be surprised.
Well, Paul Grooveside in the chat said, I'd love to curate a playlist of tracks made by community members using Cherry's instruments. So that kind of so there's clearly a demand for it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll make hundreds.
Yeah, of synths. Yeah. Let's see, what else have we got here?
I got a question.
Oh, go on then.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're modeling an instrument and then found that it actually hadn't been calibrated properly, and you got got a back step on yourself?
Yeah, for sure. The KR-58 was an excellent example of that. I was so proud of myself because I nailed the snare drum. It sounded just like it. And then Dan put it together, and put the code in and made it happen. And we let everybody try it, and everybody's like, Mitch, your snare drum sucks. I was like, what? I got it perfect. Check it out. And what it ended up happening was the snare drum in the particular unit we had was way out of whack. I still thought it sounded pretty good. Like, it was a pretty cool sounding snare, but it didn't sound like most other KR-78s. So, I mean, I'm sure, Dan, that's happened with some of the synths too. It happened with KR-55 to a degree because fortunately I had two of them because I had an A and a B. And they definitely sounded different, and the toms were just way out of whack on one of them. So fortunately, I had a pretty good reference. And in the case of drum machines, we always try to get a bunch of samples, for just like third-party samples or whatever, just so we have a lot of things to compare it to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with synths, Dan, I'm sure you can speak to that as well.
I'm trying to remember what instrument it was. I started an instrument, and I was just seeing the most bizarre waveforms coming out of the instrument. The oscillators were so strange. And I spent a lot of time modeling that so that what came out of my software was exactly like these really strange waveforms. And then I discovered that my expensive PreSonus computer audio interface had broken, and that's why I was seeing all those weird waveforms. And I ended up having to get a new device and starting over because everything I had done was wrong. But I mean, I really nailed the broken, incorrect.
and when we were doing P10, I think I got on Dan because I was like, oh, these oscillators don't sound right at all. Like, because I was A-being with my vintage one and stuff, and just doing basic oscillator, single waveform filter wide open. I'm like, these don't match at all. I had them on the scope and everything, and Dan was like, hey, I did them right, dummy. And like, so we were going back and forth and back and forth, and that's when I realized that the high pass filter on my cool what is it? It's my cool Heritage Audio high end fancy fake 1073. The high pass filter was on. And boy, that'll mess up a square wave a whole lot.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Indeed. Oh, that's funny stuff. Last question. These are kind of, this one here is, again, from Nick. Have you ever wanted to make an instrument but run into copyright or other legal issues that I guess have stopped you in your tracks? Is there anything that happened like that you can talk about publicly?
Yeah, I mean, any of the classic digital Corgan ones and
Yeah.
DVDs and any of that. I mean, nothing has exactly stopped us in our tracks. We haven't started on those projects because we can't. We can make instruments that are inspired by sample-based instruments, but those samples are owned by somebody, and there's a lot of things that we'd love to do and that people ask us to do, but legally we just can't.
Yeah, we get those questions very frequently, and for anybody who doesn't know this, there's a reason why you don't see us doing anything post M1 or D50. It's because of proprietary sample data. And, occasionally companies get permission to use things. I think, like Arturia did in Sonic, that kind of thing. But by and large, you really have to have permission with that stuff. The only other thing that came up, and Dan will kill me if I say what it is, so I won't, but one time
Maybe you're retired now. It doesn't matter.
Right? Who cares? There was a name thing that came up that somebody got upset with us about.
Oh, really?
At one point. Yeah. Well, I think people know because I think it came out. It actually was released with the original name that we had, which was apparently too close to the other name of the thing. And so, but really, I mean, it was a very pleasant thing. It wasn't like they were like, we're going to sue you to high hell. It was a very pleasant exchange. We're like, okay, no problem. But that's the only time anything has come up because people ask that a lot.
The effect unit. We had a picture of an effect unit. It was on Whirlybird. It was one
that's true.
Mitchell had done.
Yeah.
And apparently
we
came a little too close to looking like a piece of hardware. And
I forgot about that. But generally speaking,
very audio trivia for you.
People frequently ask us. We see this a lot in forums. So people are like, well, you can't make it look like this or sound like this or whatever. And most people don't understand how the law works, unless somebody has a trade dress like on a Fender Stratocaster headstock shape or something. Generally speaking, you can sort of visually do whatever you want as long as you don't steal someone's name or logo. But the general look of an instrument, I'm sure you guys probably know this, it's not really much legal going on.
No, absolutely. Very quickly for the last one, I think we get this, most times you guys are on, but I will ask it just to acknowledge Robath Melted Cheese Home Studio. Great name. Maybe an old question, but how can you guys create such amazing stuff for us at such great prices? Other companies charge you an arm and sometimes a leg. By you guys, it's my fingernail. I mean, is there a secret to being able to produce plugins at the affordable price that you do? Are other companies? Do you think maybe other companies are charging too much? Is it just down to the way you do stuff, the team that you have?
All contentious.
I can't speak to other companies.
No, sure.
We have a wildly talented team of perfectionists that make up Cherry Audio, and this is what we do. We spend all day long working on these instruments. We are a much smaller team, much smaller company than some of the major competitors that are out there, and they have a lot of bills to pay. But we are very, very fortunate to have extremely passionate people like Mitchell, like our artist Mal, like Robert in the chat, who really care about every aspect of what we do, from the look and sound of the instruments to the marketing and the way we present these things to the world. And we put a lot of effort into charging as little as we possibly can for these products, because we are very fortunate to own a lot of this hardware, and we understand that a lot of this hardware today, people can't afford it. They can't get their hands on it. It's rare. It's difficult to maintain. It's expensive to own. And so we're just really driven by, and we have been from the beginning, by this philosophy of, wanting everyone to be able to play these instruments that we get to play. So yeah, we could charge more, we could make more money doing that, but it's not our goal. It's not our motivation.
And also part of it is that I think most people understand that making software is different than making hardware. With hardware, you have these built-in costs, hardware costs, parts cost, and there's no getting around that. Naturally we're a business and we have to pay for employees and pay for, but besides those kinds of costs, software is weird. Software, you can sort of price it at anything. You can price it for $2 and hope you sell 1 million of it, or you can price it for $250 and hope you sell 500 of it and make the same amount of money. So we're, in a way, we've always had this philosophy that we want to give people excellent value for money, and we hope more people will buy it that way, and it sort of makes up the difference instead of charging $200 for a plug-in.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to. And I know I said this on most shows where we have you guys on, but I have to let you know that Robert does an amazing job, because I work with Robert a lot on everything. Just for this, for all my other things, he does great work. Give him a pay rise. He deserves it. Or just buy him something Doctor Who related. I'm sure he'll appreciate either way.
Just pay him.
Yeah, I'll just pay him. Yeah.
I guess you can start paying him.
He does great work. He's super helpful. I've said
Put
this
in a couple of years,
times.
I guess.
Yeah.
We have the most amazing customer support, and I know that on the show, like, not everyone gets to talk to our support guys and see that side of our business, but I think it's the best support in the industry. The people who run the business side of things, I mean, just across the board, we have a remarkably talented team. And like I said, with Mitchell leaving, that's not someone you can just replace. It's to find that level of passion and skill is incredibly difficult. And I'm just so grateful for the team that we have at Cherry Audio. It is a remarkable team. And if you like the products that we've made, and I hope you do, it's because of the remarkable team that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Brilliant. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Once again, gentlemen, and for the last time, Mitchell, certainly as part of the Cherry Audio crew that comes on, thank you both for your time today. The very best of luck with the KR-55C and whatever comes after that. I know you guys are busy working away on the next thing, but we don't know what it is, and we'll wait until we find that out, and then we'll have you on, and maybe you can bring somebody else from maybe you can persuade Mal to come on. That'd be great.
I'm hoping Mal will come on.
Fantastic.
We're working really hard to finish. We're very close to finishing our next synthesizer.
I had nothing to do with it, but it's really cool.
Which is Mal's design, and I will say that it is a synthesizer that is very, very close to Mal's British heart, and it will be. We'll probably be back sooner than you would think.
Excellent. Well, it's great. It's great to have you. And as Andrew said earlier on, it does feel like the year has started now. You kept us hanging for a little while, but it's great that you do. KR-55C is available now directly from Cherry Audio or from other licensed resellers around the world. It's priced at $49 US or whatever that equates to in your local currency. If you like analog drum machines, you're gonna love this. It's utterly brilliant. It's loads of fun. It sounds amazing, and it will be a huge success. And of course, don't forget that I'm sure if it doesn't already, this will soon form part of the Cherry Audio synth stack, where if you already own some of the Cherry Audio plugins, you can get the rest of them in one big collection for a greatly reduced price. It's incredible. You think the individual ones are great value. That synth stack is incredibly good value. So please do go and check that out. And thank you once again to Dan and Mitchell from Cherry Audio.
Mitchell.
It's been a great couple of hours. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, Mitchell, all the best in the future.
Thanks, Robbie.
Don't be a stranger. We will be knocking on your door to come on and give us the wealth of knowledge and experience that you have.
Studio tour.
And then you can tell us all the things about Dan that you couldn't do before.
There's a lot.
I don't doubt that at all. Gentlemen, Andrew and Kent, thank you very much indeed for joining us as per usual. And we'll be back same time, same place next week. No guests lined up just yet, but we are working on a few people, so we should have some more news of that soon. By the way, just to let you know that the Bob Moog Foundation raffle was drawn, and the winner is, and this got me really excited because it said Ben S, and I thought, oh, our very own Ben Simpson has won. And then underneath it said Seattle, Washington, and I thought, oh no, he doesn't, unless he's moved from Warrington to Washington. Then he hasn't. But congratulations. I don't know if Ben S watches the show, but if you do, jealous. What? Jeez, that's an incredible machine. And of course, anyone that bought 5 or more tickets will be able to join in with a Zoom call, I believe, with Marcus Ryle, who was, of course, on the show just a couple of weeks ago. Go back and watch that one because Marcus is a genius, and he's an incredibly storied and amiable gentleman that we love to have on. So we will see you all same time, same place next week, with or without a guest. Please also don't forget, if you want to send in your Synthspirations videos, tell us in a few minutes using any video recorder. Tell us about the music, the artist that inspired you to use these instruments. We have had so many people get in touch with us to say, I didn't know about X artist or X song, and because of this, I found that, and now I'm fully immersed in those people. We've had some absolutely brilliant ones, but we don't care whether you want to go full on with the production values or whether you just want to sit in front of a camera and talk. Either way, it's all good, but do tell us. So film that video, send it into prosynthnetwork@gmail.com. Preferably use a file transfer service like WeTransfer that will send you the large files over to us free of charge. We don't have to worry about inboxes being burst open. And then we will feature that video on the show, and then we'll also upload it for our YouTube channel members and for our Patreons, individually edited to be watched on those platforms there as well. So please do send your Synthspirations videos in. We really, really want to do that. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media stuff. Coming up, I think SOR are going on at the moment, but they're doing shows every day, so make sure you tune into the Symptoms of Reality guys. Andy Synchrotron should be doing his thing on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. UK time. So for those of you in America, we're still on GMT here, so you've come an hour closer to us, so timings have shifted. So make sure you check YouTube for the accurate timings in your location. Who else? We've got Randy at 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. We've got Jamie Geosynths. He's got Tim Grogan, James Glue, Andrew Brooks, and somebody whose name escapes me at the moment, but they're on at 6 p.m. UK time on a Sunday. Jason Jervis will be broadcasting live on Sunday as well. Lots of stuff for the nerdy synth community to get into that. Go and support those shows. Ken Flux Pierce, where have you been? It's not good enough. I want 100 lines from you explaining why you missed the show, but that's the beauty of YouTube. You can catch up. So thanks for watching. Take the greatest of care, everyone. Dan, Mitchell, once again, thank you. Stay in touch. We'll be in touch with you all soon. And have a great weekend, everyone. See you all soon. Take care. Oh, I haven't got the video lined up. There we go.
Come on.
Bye.